I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for your support. Hey y'all, it's Kate from the Literary Apothecary, and today we're going to be talking about Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is going to be such a hard review to do just because I don't want to let this series go. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, though in just a minute I'm going to talk about why I didn't think it was an absolutely perfect book. Other people had other opinions, and they are totally welcome to their opinions. I do not fault them at all, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. So this is the third book in the Green Bone Saga, and supposedly the last book, which I think, based on the ending, it is definitely the last book in this saga, which is sad because this series has been incredible. A spoiler-free summary of this book. So let me preface this by saying, of course, anytime I talk about a book that is not book 1 in a series, there's going to be slight spoilers for the other books in this series. So if you haven't read the Green Bone Saga yet, and you don't want to be spoiled by anything that happens in the earlier books, then stop here, go read the series, and then come back to this review. However, with that said, this is a spoiler-free review, and there aren't going to be huge spoilers, even for the first 2 books in this series. There might be some slight spoilers, but I don't really talk about any one character by name in particular, so keep that in mind also going forward. If you want my full thoughts on the Green Bone Saga and Jade Legacy, come to the Discord. The link will be in the description below. I've tried to put in all of my thoughts as I was reading in our Jade Legacy chat there, but I love this series so much, and I look forward to talking to anyone about it. So, with that said, now here's our spoiler-free summary of Jade Legacy. So this book follows closely after book 2 ends. That was Jade War, and so this is, I think, shortly after the ending actions of Jade War. Everyone in just about every profession wants Jade now. They want that Jade magic, they want the benefits of Jade, and they're willing to do just about anything to get that. As the struggle over the control of Jade grows ever larger and more deadly, the Call family and the ancient ways of the Kikanese Green Bones will never be the same. The Calls have been battered by war and tragedy. They are plagued by resentments and old wounds as their adversaries are on the ascent, and their country is riven by dangerous factions and foreign interference that could destroy the Green Bone way of life and altogether. As a new generation arises, the clan's growing empire is in danger of coming apart. So what worked for me, or what I absolutely loved about this book and really the series as a whole, was the characters first and foremost. These characters are so real that I can see them with my own eyes. I can imagine them doing everything that they do, and it feels like I know them in my life, even though technically, yes, they're fictional characters. And they are written in a way and portrayed in a way that no matter who the character was, I felt sympathy for them at some point in this book and this series. And that is rare for me. When I'm reading a book, I often can find sympathy for at least one character in a book, but I don't always be able to have sympathy for all of the characters in the book, especially one that has such adversaries in this book. Also, Fonda Lee writes grief in a way that tells you she has been through this. She knows what true grief is all about. And she shows us grief in all of its stages and all the different ways that a person can grieve. We see all these different types of grief going on. And she wrote it in a way that made me feel like I was grieving a loved one. And the tears are already starting, y'all. But, you know, so she made me feel like I was grieving a loved one. But let's be honest, because these fictional characters really felt so real to me. I felt like that they were real to me. So I was grieving a loved one, because if you've read Jade Legacy, you know what I'm talking about. I also loved seeing the Call family try to find a way to both keep the Green Bone traditions, but also adapt to the changing times, because especially Wen and Shay have recognized that this is the only way for the Call family to survive this war. They need to adapt, but they also need to honor that tradition of the Green Bones, or else they'll lose their family's tradition and the family's honor. So I loved seeing them try to find that even balance between these two things. And let's be honest, those last like 200, 300 pages were absolutely stellar. Some of the best writing I have ever read. Was so good, y'all. Now, at the beginning of this video, I said I didn't think this was a perfect book, so now I'm going to talk about why. For me, the timeline was very hard to follow at times. We jumped around so much, and we jumped so far away from where our starting point was, that it was hard for me to follow along and figure out where we were in this story. But at about like the halfway point, the 50% mark, I just didn't care anymore. I was along for the ride, seeing where the Green Bone journey would take us and where we would end up with the Call family. So while it was hard to follow at times, and that's why I say it was an absolutely perfect book, I got to a point where I didn't care, and that's why I still ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. So that's my spoiler-free review of Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee, the third and final book in the Green Bone Saga. I know many people loved this series, so let me know in the comments below who your favorite character was. My favorite character to the end was still Hilo. I absolutely loved his character so much, and I loved, even though some people would disagree, I felt like Hilo's character throughout this series grew so much more than most of the other characters that we've seen. So he was my favorite character. If you've read this series, let me know in the comments below who your favorite character was. Come to our Discord and talk to me about your favorite scenes in Jade Legacy. I am still dying to talk to people about this. I finished this book like a month ago, and I'm still think about it almost every day, and I still have that urge to talk to people about it. So, as always, my Patreon and my Discord information are in the description below. Keep reading, and I love y'all to the moon and back. Bye.